We can't really imagine Christian faith, Christian tradition, Christian life without the influence of St. John and St. Paul. And their influence on the development of Christianity and Christian identity is essentially mystical. And that's why they are so important for us today. And yet they're very different. They're like two rivers flowing from the same source, but each with their own character, their own identity, their own style. And the important difference between them is, at the same time, their unity. St. John is presented to us in the Gospel and in the letters as an intimate friend, the beloved disciple, somebody who knew Jesus more closely perhaps than anybody else, who laid his head on Jesus' breast at the Last Supper. Now, this understanding of St. John, of course, has a mystical meaning too. It's not only the human friendship that Jesus clearly had, but it reflects something of our human capacity for knowing God through a close intimacy with Jesus. Of course, both for John and Paul, traditions started around the influence that they had and the teaching they gave. So we have a Johannine school and a Pauline school, and therefore there are texts which are attributed to them, but which modern scholars think almost certainly were not written by them personally, but they reflected the thought and the living influence that both of these Christian mystics had upon the future tradition. Both of them, of course, speak about the cosmic dimension of Christ, not only the humanity, not only the terrestrial, corporeal, actual, individual reality of Jesus, that is basic, of course, to the idea of the incarnation, but they, as it were, expand from that focus into the cosmic Christ. And both of them give us slightly different ways of understanding that connection between the Jesus of history, whose words bring us into contact through the Gospels with a very real and personable person, somebody we can relate to, and the cosmic Christ who has the answer to the great questions of humanity, to the meaning of life, and who has become, in the eyes of faith, the center of history, the center of time. The mystical experience of Paul and of John overflows the individual. This is not just a subjective, consumer kind of spirituality. This is something that lifts the ego up to a higher level, as it were, transforms our human identity and expands us beyond our usual limits. So there is this energy, this enthusiasm in the mysticism of both of these two rivers of Christian contemplative wisdom, and we are the recipients of this. That's why we come back to reading these authors, to getting to know them interiorly through their wisdom, through the mystery that they were engaging with, and by discussing and sharing the effect that they have on us and on our thinking, we grow into the same experience as them. The important thing, I think, for our world today is to recover this contemplative wisdom. We can't solve the overwhelming problems of violence, of injustice, of our disrespect to the environment. We can't solve those problems just with our left brain. We have to go to a deeper or more expansive kind of consciousness, a kind of wisdom. And that's why both John and Paul are very important to us today, because they show us how the Christian wisdom and the experience of love that comes to us through Christian faith can be shared. It's something not to be locked up and preserved, but it's something that has to be let go of, has to be, these rivers have to flow into the whole of modern life and really open the mind of our institutions, of our way of thinking concerning education or medicine or business, John and Paul are not irrelevant to our modern dilemmas. They offer us a very hopeful and joyful way of entering into the relevance which means the way we serve the world that we belong to.